Welcome. Today we're going to do a custom handle for this hand-forged axe. It's forged by a local Danish blacksmith called Milia. I'm going to put a link to his socials in the description. It's an absolutely beautiful piece. Just needs a little bit of sharpening and then it's ready to hang. I've drawn up a sketch for the handle on this lovely piece of European ash. Perfect grain orientation, and yeah, not much to say about it. Just going to cut it out here on the bandsaw and get a rough shape out, and then move on to using the router to get it ready for the palm swell inlays. I always use my trusty little homemade jig to route out the bit for the palm swell. It's very simple, but it gets the job done. It's nothing fancy. So the customer asked for a pretty simple palm swell, preferably with the same species as the handle itself to make it a bit more inconspicuous. So I've gone with some ash that sort of follows the same grain as the handle itself. And while the glue sets, I'm going to start sharpening it. Since this axe was already close to sharp, I only ran with a grit 400 and then took it all the way up to grit 2000, and a quick strop with a grinder with a felt disc on it with buffing compound. And here it is. Nice mirror polish. And of course, shaving sharp and ready for work. After the glue cured, I cut out the palm swell on the bandsaw, just removing a lot of the excess material instead of running it on the belt grinder. Then use my belt grinder to further rough out the shape of the palm swell. This also gives me a chance to see if the glue up went well, and unfortunately in this case it didn't go perfectly. So I have this little section here where the ash didn't sort of connect with the handle itself, so I'm going to improvise and cut a small curve on both sides and put in a little black fiber lining to sort of fix my mistake. It wasn't my intention, but you know, sometimes you gotta improvise when you make a little mishaps. Just making sure that there are no air pockets or anything. Just really want to get it nice and securely glued. So as usual, I've traced out the approximate shape of the eye onto the top of the handle, and I'll go at it with my draw knife, get it roughed out. Unfortunately, the grain on one side has a bit of a tear out, so I had to give up using the draw knife on that side. I'm just cutting backwards to get rid of the chips I'd created. So instead of using a cutting tool, I chose to use my Shinto rasp, because it doesn't really care about what direction of the grain you're working. I can't stress enough how valuable these little Shinto rasps are. They're extremely affordable and they're a great addition to the toolbox. So once I've cut it down to the lines I marked out, I'm just going to use a dead blow hammer to put the head on to get me some markers to indicate where I need to remove material from the handle. This process is usually called fitting the handle. It can be a bit tedious and take quite a while to remove the material for the head to seat far enough down, but you don't want to rush this process because a good fit is really important. If you have just a little bit of gaps and room for the head to move around on the handle, it'll come loose. So now I'm done fitting the handle, and as you can see, you have a nice clean fit. No big gaps or anything like that. We have some wood protruding at the top, which I always prefer. Just gives a little bit more expansion of the handle wood at the top of the head. If you leave it flush with the head, you run the risk that you're not getting enough expansion of the handle inside of the eye to actually keep it in place. I'm going to shape out the rest of the handle, get rid of the nasty edges and whatnot, and get it into a nice slim profile that I think feels great in my hand. I don't have a specific profile for the handle. I just sort of go by feel. I always sand down the top of the handle before securing it to the axe head. I usually send it down to grit 180. I use my little quick grip clamp to hold a piece of wood that I've drawn up for a wedge. I usually cut the wedges just a millimeter or two too long for the eye of the axe, and then sand it down into shape, giving it some nice rounded corners and whatnot, so it fits nice and snug into the eye. Sand down the top of the handle and the wedge, add a bit of oil, and then sand down the rest of the handle. the finishing touch, it's always smoothing it down with a Grit 500 pad, and then applying linseed oil and beeswax finish, and then shipped out to the customer. Unfortunately, I forgot to take some video footage of my own, so I'll have to make do with my customers. He was very pleased with the axe and had a great day out with it. Hope you enjoyed watching. Please consider liking, subscribing, and if you have any questions, you can always leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching.